Welcome to Squatchin' Holler.
In the mist where the trees lean low, Squatchin' Holler's got a tale to show. Whispers creep like a creature's faint howl. Every shadow's got a secret to growl. Monsters rise where the stories are told. Squatchin' Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say? In the holler, the truth just slips away. Huge footprints fade where the creek runs thin. A lantern sways, let the search begin. Rustling leaves, but there's no one near. Is it the wind or the beast you fear? Every echo's a question, every rustle's a clue. Squatchin' Holler's got its eyes on you. Monsters rise where the stories are torn. Squatchin' Holler where the legends are born. Are they here? Are they gone? Who can say?
And now, with your Squatchin' Holler hosts, Roger Williams, Amanda Stowers, and Ashley Range. Remember, this podcast can be downloaded everywhere great podcasts are found. And now the show.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Roger.
How you doing?
I'm good this evening. How are you?
Same here. I'm excited. I'm excited for all guests, but Kain, a lot of people in chat already know. They know Kain. One thing I like about him is if you're going to get better at anything, you need to be around folks that are better than you, that can teach you things. And if any of y'all have seen Enoch 360 or House of Enoch on Facebook, he always puts things out there to make people think and question things and try to put puzzle pieces together. And that's what I like about him. And you haven't got to meet him. You met him backstage.
I haven't. Oh. Yeah, I met him backstage a little bit, and you were teasing me earlier, like, yeah, don't you remember when we interviewed him previous? I'm like, actually, no, that wasn't me. That was Greg. You and Greg who interviewed him last time before we moved over here onto Earn. And I forgot. I think Kain is now in the lead for the most times on Squatchin' Holler than any other guest. With Greg probably second or tied with him. But since we talked to him last, he had some pretty amazing things happen. He even went live on Facebook in the middle of it. So when we get done here, y'all go to his Facebook page, House of Enoch. There's Ashley. Come on in here, Ashley. Welcome. There she is.
So we have a lot of things. We have a lot of pictures. We have a video that he took. And for y'all, we're not going to spend too much time on this. We'll bring Kain in, and I'm going to immediately show you one of my favorite pieces of evidence that he has, and that's one of the footprints. So let's bring Kain in here. Howdy, sir.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome in. Thank you. I appreciate you, spending time coming in to spread the knowledge, because I'm just going to say it. You're one of the best researchers I know because of how you document things, and that's what we need. And the fact that you share some of it is just amazing to me, because you can't get just anybody to talk about it.
Well, I appreciate that. That's the whole reason I created the page to begin with, because, a decade ago when I started this, I felt like there was a lack of there was a lot of Bigfoot enthusiast pages, but there was like nothing with any meat and potatoes, like for researchers. And so I tried to document the experience and my journey from starting off, not knowing a whole lot, and just putting it out there. And over the years, I've got some people that have followed me from day one. I can't believe it. But over the years, just starting to put things together and trial and error. I try to put all that out there, and sometimes it's okay to be wrong. It's just if we're all honest, none of us know a lot about this subject, so we have to keep pushing the boundaries and asking different questions and trying new things. And I've just tried to dedicate my time to doing that. And I'm also in a situation where I live and my lifestyle, I live in my research area. I have the ability to pretty much hike every single day, so I can really, this area, I can really deep dive and document things as they happen, the little changes that I find. So that's kind of the idea about the whole thing.
Well, I know exactly how that is. I lived in an area for 20 years, and people made comments, something would be out of place, and I would know it because I was there all the time, and little things, But I know what you're saying. If you're in an area 5 times a week, if there's a rock turned over that wasn't on Tuesday, you're going to know it. So that I totally
your
understand.
own backyard.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, oh yeah, Billy Schilling.
Oh
yeah,
we have a birthday boy on the show.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday, Kain.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to show something quickly. We have a lot of new people. Our audience got bigger when we joined with Doug, and this is one of my favorite things. Y'all, Kain, you didn't have plaster of Paris. You had to use concrete, right? When you found this track.
Yeah, depending on the track that you're going to show. I believe, yeah. Okay, so this one right there, there's a story behind this. That was casted about 20 minutes from here. This was before
something as big as you are.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing. Is like, holy crap, how big is that?
So that cast, if anyone knows the guys over at Richard McCandlish and his group, oh geez, I'm drawing a blank. It's a cryptid research.
Or you're older. So
Ohio researcher, OCR. But anyway, this was when I first met Richard. So and this was a couple years before I ever even seen a cast like that. And then a few years later, I casted 4 prints, the exact same size of that on my property. And yeah, there's the big one there. I actually have 4 of those. They're about a 24-inch track. And yeah, at the time I had I didn't have enough casting material, so I had to use concrete, and it took 60 pounds of concrete to
holy smokes.
So I have that cast in here. I could show at some point. But what Richard and I ended up doing is I scanned everything with LiDAR. So now we could have very detailed measurements. My cast was about an inch bigger than his, but you figure slippage of a foot and stuff like that. But, the one thing we noticed so altogether there's 5 casts that size, because he had 1, I have 4. The toe, the toes were exactly the same size and width, which is to me, that's really good, strong evidence. And also, as a crow flies, like Richard and I are there's not too many roads out here anyway. But as a crow flies, you can go straight through the woods from my house to Richards. But if you have to take the roads, it's going to be 20 minutes, because a lot of the roads around here, you have to go around the valleys and stuff. And there's a lot of, I'm in the mecca of national and state parks. There's so many of them. Like my property connects all of that. And that one's
And
junior.
where is that? If you
So I live in Hocking County, Ohio.
okay, yeah, you're
a lot
definitely
of
in the
people
middle
know,
of
like
it.
Old Man's Cave and some of those sites. That is the family group right there that I've been documented over several years that have
Wow.
crossing my property. And
Leave
the
this
smallest
picture up for a
one-
second, Roger.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Kain. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off. I
you're
was going to
fine.
ask a question about this.
Yeah,
the smallest
likewise.
one, I've been able to document it and cast it over 4 different years. So I'm actually documenting the growth rate of its foot.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And there's once you start doing this and being able to document as they're passing through the property, there's a lot. So the really big one, I just call that the father.
Yeah.
I assume the middle one, I just call that mom, and then the youngest one's like junior. And but what's really
Goldilocks vibes
cool,
here.
yeah, that I've documented is it's the mother is always closest to the cabin. The juvenile is always in between mom and dad, no matter where they come through at, and the father is usually on the outskirts of the property, but close enough to come in if he needs to take care of business. But it's the mother. Mother is always the one that gets really close to the cabin. I think maybe she's like the lookout. And there's also, like, from being out here so long, I've learned their cadence. So one thing I always see that I try to tell people is, just because there is a call and response, and they each have their own separate call and response, and they know immediately if you go in and you have the wrong response. They know there's an outsider there, and I've tested that and learned the hard way and been corrected for that. But for many years, I always thought there was one moving around the property, because these call and responses are roughly 10 minutes apart.
Wow.
They don't have a watch, but it's really close. Like at my place, usually the first thing I'll hear is a knock, and it's across. I have a pond, and it's across the way. It just, for anyone that doesn't know, I live on 750 acres out here. It's all woods. It's complete wood cover. You'll hear the knock, and then you got to wait somewhere around, it could be 8 minutes, it could be 12 minutes. Then you'll hear a mouth pop, and it's over on the other side of the property. Wait 10, 12 minutes somewhere, and you'll always hear what sounds like something hitting metal. And then even after that, sometimes you'll hear something that's a little farther off that I can't. But I know for sure there's 3. And that is their, and this is something I've not only recognized, but it's what they do. And it took me years to figure out that portion of it. I've actually been out in the woods, and there was a 4-wheeler going down the road, and I had gotten home from work, and a lot of times I can't stop. Like if I go and sit down, I'm done. So a lot of times as soon as I get home from work, I get out of my truck and straight into the woods, so I can get a couple hours in the woods.
Wow.
So that 4-wheeler is going down, and I think it really shielded me entering the woods. And as the 4-wheeler went past my house, it really did. It sounded like it was coming up the driveway. And as soon as it did that, I was just out there. I'd just gotten out in the woods, really close by, a knock. And I dropped to the ground, and I sat out there, and I listened to this whole cadence again. And then I'm like, holy crap, I'm right out here in the middle of them. And I was sitting down so long, it was getting dark. and my legs went numb just from sitting in that for so long. And eventually, it's getting dark, and I'm hearing stuff like creeping up close to me. And finally, I had to stand up. And as soon as I stood up, I stumbled because my feet were numb, and everything stopped. Like I was absolutely busted. But I was out there for a long time. Not just one time, but the series. Like just sitting there. I was up against a tree. And then, it was like 40 minutes later, the series started again. I'm like, holy cow. It was really cool. And that verified to me, okay, this is how they communicate as they're crossing the property.
And Kain, for
really
people
cool.
that don't know, I'm lucky enough to know some people that have good information. The difference between a rock clack, mouth pop, and a knock, can you kind of describe that that sound? Because I've heard the resonance in the throat and the sinus cavity, which tells you that it's a mouth pop. Can you explain that to people?
Yeah, I've gotten several mouth pops on audio, but so a knock sounds like someone hitting a baseball in the baseball field, hitting a home run. You'll hear that. I don't know if they're actually hitting a tree. I know, they could also get that same sound from smacking a tree with their hand, right, or taking and hitting a lot of trees. If you test it, certain trees, the root, you hit down towards the root base of like a hardwood tree, you can produce that same sound. But you'll have that, and a mouth pop is really like a right, carries out through there, and then the other one is it just sounds like something hitting metal. And I do have a fallen homestead on my property, and it's a good click away, but that is the only thing out there. The only thing out there that has
any
any kind of metal.
Of rock on rock sounds?
Yes, absolutely. Eric and I have experienced that before, and if you just, I don't know this, but if you ask me straight off the cuff, the rock clacking to me, I believe is a distress call for a juvenile. Like if a juvenile will clack rocks, and that's what happened to Eric and I. Anyway, we walked into an area, and there was really rapid rock clacking, and it sounds like two rocks. All hell breaks loose. And this thing, something was hitting a tree, and it sounded like a machine gun. And we could hear the actual log splittering. Either it was splittering the tree, or the concussion force of this is unbelievable. And soon as it felt like we got surrounded, once the rock clacking stopped, I climbed a tree. Eric almost jumped off a cliff. He debated that because something clapped right up behind him, and it was like a long jump, and he for a second thought he might have to jump off this cliff. And once that rock clacking stopped, everything just like nothing ever happened. And Eric and I, we hiked a mile. I'm like, if someone's out here messing with us, I want to know. And we hiked like a mile.
Do you ever truly have that in the back of your mind? Is it ever really going through your mind, hey, this could be people messing with us? And has that ever actually come to fruition? Or is it more just to settle yourself against the reality of what we know is in the woods? Like, we know these things are there.
When we first started, there were so many times we were in areas, we would hear tree knocks, we would hear stuff, and we always thought it was just another hiker out there. We dismissed so much stuff when we started. It wasn't until we got to know the area, and we're like, especially Eric and I, back in the day, we were serious avid hikers. We've hiked over 3,000 miles off trail. And we would get out there, and once we knew the area, we're like, there ain't no houses, there ain't no hikers out here. Like, once you know that, it's kind of like my property here. When I post stuff online, a lot of people are like, well, it's probably your neighbors, or you don't know where I live. That is just that is I live pretty remote. There's a lot of land here, and you don't absolutely no way you're going to walk in these woods at night without a flashlight. You will die. Plain and simple, there's people that die here every single summer. I had one this year. They've had 4 like a couple years ago. These are, for the area that I live in Hocking County, these are like 100-foot drop-offs. You can just be going. It's all been carved out and glaciated. And it is not an area that you're going to be walking out here in the dark. That is a fact. I won't do that.
and it's natural. Like before you learn about these things, it's not like, who is that? Because you're not thinking about anything making the sound.
Yeah. I mean, all of us are rational people. You always assume, you have rational thoughts. When I have
the path of least resistance, you're like, okay, let's think this through. And
several times out here I've heard girls giggling.
Ooh,
and
no,
I
thank you.
do not care how many times it happens to me. My first instinct is, well, somebody is lost out here, and I'll walk right towards it trying to help somebody. Because if you're out in my property, you are surely lost. Same thing with the lights. Many times I have seen the lights out here, and my first thought is that's someone's headlamp and they're lost. And I have absolutely, one time at least, I've gotten it on camera many times, but one time I videoed, and I'm like, there's someone over here in my woods. I kept seeing this light go on and off, and I walked right to it, and there was nothing there. So yeah, rationally, you honestly, that should be the first thing. I think I would question someone that thinks everything's a Bigfoot, because everything's on it. So.
And when you say lights, are you meaning like an orb type light?
Yeah, it's I've got some. I think I have a picture of one that I sent to Roger that we can. It was across my pond. That is, what it is. It's like an orb or a light.
This one here?
No, that is something else.
That is
something
else.
you have
Okay.
to true. It's a light that doesn't emit. It doesn't emit past it. It's like within. It doesn't shine around it. It's like an orb.
Yeah.
There is one. It's probably like a grainy picture.
Before we get to the orb picture, Amanda, you had questions
There it is,
about
right
the
there.
Bigfoot cast pictures too.
I did. Yeah, those are some really interesting casts. So is this?
If you zoom in, that I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but there is a light right towards the bottom of that hill right there.
I see it.
Yeah, it's a very tiny little dot there in all the black.
Yes, and I mean that's right straight. My pond is right there, and that is straight into the hillside. It's not a star. There is not a house or anything out there that could be that light. It's just it happened. It happened long enough that I could get my photo. What's that?
If you had to judge the distance from where that picture was taken,
I was on my deck, so no more than 200 yards, probably a little less than that, because my you go right down from my deck down the hill. I have about maybe a 3/4 acre pond, and it was just right along the bank of the pond there. And I mean, I watched it go, and then I was like, enough that I could go get my camera and actually take a picture of it.
When you say camera, did you use your phone or?
Yes, that's my phone.
What do you think causes the lights? Because we've experienced a lot of that too. I don't know if it's connected, but is it the area you think, or what is going on? Because a lot of people come into this and they'll go out looking for Bigfoot supposedly, and then all of a sudden they come back with these stories just like that. We've seen that before also. And in places where there's ravines, you'd be stupid to come through there because there's 30 and 40 foot crevices from where the river years ago, like what you're talking about. And I don't even like walking through some of that in the daytime. So it wasn't anybody, and all of a sudden they disappear. And what do you think they are?
It's either I don't know, obviously, but I think it's part of land. And I am a very big proponent of the Native Americans and their word of mouth that they passed on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that we give them enough credit. We're new here.
Right.
I agree.
They had a culture here for over 10,000 years, and how they explained all the same things. They have the same experience as we did. They believe, most of them believe that there was a connection with the lights to Sasquatch, and I who am I to disagree with that? Because the accounts that they talk about, I have the same. I'm having the same experiences out here,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you when you start seeing those lights and weird stuff, they're very likely going to have some kind of Sasquatch activity.
Yes.
Well, and it seems too and a lot of activity coming out of Ohio, and not to say that it hasn't always been coming out of Ohio. I think just more people are open to talking about it a lot more, but Ohio seems to be, the whole state seems to be a hot spot currently. And did you know that going into this property? Was this something you were kind of looking for, or just, is it family property? Like how did that come about?
No, I was looking for that this place specifically when I bought this property that I could research. A lot of people don't probably realize that probably 3/4 of the state of Ohio, I would say 3/4 is wood covered. The whole eastern side from the top down and the entire south. Like I live about a 3-hour drive from the Ohio River. You can absolutely walk that in any direction under wood cover. And I think Ohio is 92,000 miles square. So there's a lot of state parks. There's a lot. So I think a lot of it is Ohio is a really, you have on the western side of Ohio is a very agriculture. As you go up north, it's all farms and stuff. But the other side, it's all wood. So it doesn't surprise me at all that there's a lot of activity. To get to your point, yes, I had the opportunity to make a big jump in my life and to kind of do something. And I had the opportunity, so I started searching for a place down here. And what I did was I started looking, like initially when I found this cabin that I didn't know, but I saw a sign in the woods on the way there, and it was really out in the boonies, and I'm like, I like the cabin. So I had the person that did the inspection for the cabin, he was out here for like 6 hours. While he was doing that, I was hiking all over here, and I saw some signs, stuff like some of the stuff you're seeing right now. And I'm like, okay. My thought was, if I know for a fact that there's things close by, and hopefully I can bring them in, bring them in closer to me. And I started really trying to make my presence known here. I still do that to this day. I try to, I call them wildlings. I just want to be another wildling out here. And I insert myself into the conversation. When you see all the stick structures and stuff like that, there's things that I do whenever I notice something like that. I have my own sign that I do, and I leave it there. Usually has my scent on it, and I insert myself into the conversation. And over the years now, there's all kinds of little places around these woods where eventually they know that it's me. I play Native American drums. I'm always putting myself in the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's an asterisk. Those are really prominent on my property now. So that right there, when I first moved in, it was a totally different type of thing that I was seeing. Another very prominent structure. And then over at a certain point, these asterisks started appearing everywhere. And I don't, I have my theories on this. I don't know if it's like a boundary and there's two clans. You know, I have some ideas because at one point behind my cabin, there was a really hot spot where Eric and I, there's a lot of sign up there, and we had awesome activity up there. and I remember going out there one day, and all those structures were knocked down.
Oh, really?
Yes, all of them. And new stuff was put up, and there was, you know, it was like a ridge, and there was a row of X's going all the way up the ridge, almost like a fence. Well, not right beside each other, but every, you know, I would say 50 feet. And to me, it looked like, okay, somebody just came in, knocked down all their stuff, put up their little border, and then all of a sudden now the new signage around the property, like really, there's probably that asterisk I showed you, at least that's what I call it. There's at least 12 of those on my property now that were not here when because I documented that. But when I first moved in, I went through and documented everything. And then that way I have a place marker. You know, if I see something new in the woods and I'm like, oh, was that there before? I go right back and look and be like, I mean, I've actually watched like leaners and watched them go to different trees, you know, and if you're not in the woods enough, you know, if you're going every week, 1 weekend out of the month or something, you're not going to know that those two sticks were on this tree and now they're on this tree. And that's really what started getting me like, okay, there's so much happening under our noses that we don't realize because we're not in the woods long enough to see it. So that really inspired me more to like, I need to be out here every night. It bothers me when I'm not out there every night. If I miss a night or if it's raining or I'm always wondering, I wonder what I'm missing. And I can't hike this whole property in one night. So what I do is I go out and I'll hike a section of it. And then the next night I'll hike a section of it. And then eventually I make the perimeter. And there's also certain areas of the woods that I only go in maybe twice a year. And I just respect, you know. I know like when I tell you about where I hear the knock, the first knock, I don't usually go over on that portion of the property except maybe twice a year. The stuff behind me, there's stuff there's sign that's really close to my cabin that I have documented absolutely was not there, and now it is. And there's quite a bit of sign really close to the cabin up on so where I'm at. There's literally a ridge that goes up to 1,200 feet. I'm up about 800 feet in elevation. So there's it's straight up behind me and to this side. And I live in a hollow, you know, so it's like this, and my cabin's kind of right there in this, what they call hollows here.
If you want your mind blown, one of the first times I talked to Kain, and he was talking about the communication and his own symbols and stuff like that. He said he walked out after doing that for a while. He walked out on his porch and they had left him that symbol. They made that symbol. And
oh,
left
wow.
Yeah.
And I just leaned back in my chair. I was like, oh my God.
What did they use to leave that with you? Was it something small, like small sticks or rocks or?
Well, this was when I first started playing with the idea. So at that time I was doing a couple different things, but I wasn't even on my property. I was what I call no man's land. It's you just hike. And I saw I believe it was there's a dead turkey. There was a site where a turkey was killed, and there was like a little teepee structure right up against that a tree. And what I did, I didn't have a lot with me, so I found a rock, put a rock under it, and made a triangle, and just left it there. And it was a week or so later, I was walking out back by my fire pit, and there's a rock with a triangle in my backyard.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, not only did they emulate what I did, like they know that I did it, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
so that's when I really started thinking. I was like, okay, now I have a braid that I do. I'm a fidgety guy. I'm always like,
I'm sitting here fidgeting with something
Yes.
on the camera.
You're with family.
My
Yeah.
hands can't sit still.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on
legs
mine.
always shaking. I'm that kind of guy. So a lot of times when I'm hiking, I'm actually braiding. I take bark, strip it off the trees, and I braid necklaces, bracelets. And what I end up doing when I see something like that, I just hang it nearby. And then if you look around here, like out back, I do the same thing. So anything that's out there at this point, they know that I'm the little braid maker or whatever. And they also know I'm the guy playing native drums. Cause I have little drums too. Sometimes I'll just play it out in the woods, or a native flute. And then my thought on that is when I'm out here at night and, with all the lights off and stuff, I'll either play the drums, and that just carries through the valley. So something's a mile away or something, it's like, oh, that dude's out there. It might attract them. Like, well, let's go check out what he's doing tonight. Or it's just all identifying me. So if you don't know someone's name, that's another thing that I do is I have a certain. It's not really it's kind of like a bird call, but I announce myself with a certain tone, and with the intent that I'm identifying myself, because I'm also identifying myself really by my scent and by my sign that I use, and by the drum. All these identifiers, like, and I really, try to really put out a peaceful vibe. The deer around here, I do let people hunt my property. 2 people hunt my property. My cousin and Eric, were my best friends. I don't, and I love it because the deer aren't scared of me. I wouldn't be able to hunt right now because I could stand 20 feet away and kill one, and I don't want to do that. And I have a relationship with the owls here.
Yeah.
I have 3 owls that will literally fly in if I'm sitting outside, even with a bonfire or something. I'm out there by myself. They'll fly in on a tree and hang out with me for like 45 minutes. Sometimes they'll fly right up to me and land. I got it on film not too long ago. I was hiking, and this owl, I looked up and he was right there on the tree, and I kind of did my thing. And I just walked away slow. The next thing I know, it was following me, in the woods, and then it flew right down in front of me, and I was able to film the whole thing. Comes up and it looks at me and then flies off. And that's the kind of relationship, I like super try to tune in. I tune into the insects, the birds. And the greatest thing for me is when I'm sitting out there and out on the deck, and I'm either like, a lot of times when I do my drums, I will be listening to the ambient sound of the crickets and everything, and there'll be a rhythm, and I'll get into that rhythm. And the best thing for me is when there's owls there's the crickets, and then you start hearing the calls back and forth, and we're all just out here living, just sharing a moment, a night, just we're all there, and we're all living under the same canopy, and we're just sharing this moment together. And that's how it feels like to me. Like there's nothing greater than that. I don't need to take a picture. Place at times like that, I'm like, man, we're kind of in this together, and we're, you kind of feel like you're accepted a little bit, which is pretty cool.
And you sound like you've built trust, but something happened July 4th. It was a little odd. Can you start with that? What happened there?
You can never, it's so powerful what they do sometimes that you don't know how to take it, because it's scary. That night I slept with a gun. But it started, it was July 4th. I ended up not doing anything. I didn't go see anybody. I've kind of been hermiting out. But I was working on my motorcycle. I have a Harley, and I was getting it running. So I was out in my driveway, got it running, I'm revving it. But while I was working on it, I heard the sounds. I don't know really how to say it, because I mean, you hear a lot of stuff out here, but there's particular movements and sounds that just like I caught my eye. I didn't think too much about it. I finished doing what I was doing, but I absolutely, because of that, is why I went out later that night. And another thing, people online, they go nuts when that don't know me or the page, and I'm documenting like stuff happening in the dark, and they go crazy, like, why doesn't this guy freaking turn this porch light on? Or dude, don't you have a flashlight? But you're kind of missing the point here. But I went out and I was getting stuff thrown at me, and I'd go to one side of my deck and they would land right beside me. So I'm like, okay, it's not just random nuts falling at this point. It's following me per wherever I'm standing at. And that was going on. So I ended up, then a lot of it I didn't catch on camera, but really loud, which we can play the video, but that happened several times that night. Enough to that once that started happening, it freaked me out a little bit. It's just so powerful when you experience the impact and stuff. It's I don't care who you are. I was nervous. I didn't feel comfortable being out on the deck in the open. So where I took that video, I have a screened in porch. I was sitting in there. So, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this was cool. I am scared, but man, if something that hits the cabin that hard decides to throw it and hit me in the head, I'm done.
You're done.
That's in the back of my mind. So
yeah, because that screen isn't going to do anything.
No.
So we'll play it. So I want you don't mind Kain's cussing a little bit, because I've been in the same situation. And
we all let some slip during the humorous rest, for sure. It happens.
We're all adults here. So the thing is, what I want to point out is there's a difference between acorns and stuff thumping, tin roof and car, the hood or whatever. Listen to this rock land and hit the tin, and we'll let it play. It's 1 minute and 5 seconds. We'll run it through here. Here we go.
All right.
Shit. Look at that. Shit. Hey!
Now,
Wow.
Now we have some pictures. You had your do you have a FLIR, or what did you have?
These are the acorns that fall by my house. So you heard that impact.
They thump. They don't. Yeah.
You cannot throw this hard. There's not enough weight.
Right.
I don't care how far. I've actually taken a slingshot, shot it up in the air, and it's like, the impact is even, live. It was even more than that, like what the camera captured.
Well, you can almost hear you hear the impact, but you almost hear the rock sliding and scratching.
Yeah.
As it goes
you
down
could definitely
too.
tell it was a rock
Yeah.
hitting. I don't know how to describe it. When you could tell it's a difference between the two when it hits, because
Yeah.
I have a tin roof on my house too, and you can tell when the acorns start falling. It sounds
Right.
it's the acorns.
It's a thump, right? It's not like that. So
Yeah.
So what picture would you want me to show? I've got one with you showing the size
Well,
Okay.
before we get into that, I actually had a question. So, Kain, it seems like you spent a very large amount of time, energy, effort acclimating yourself to this environment, to, I mean, painstakingly, you have gone out of your way to just immerse yourself in this environment, whatever may or may not be out there, because we're not 100% sure. Why do you think that particular night, I don't want to say your presence was being challenged because we don't know, but those orbs looked, again, those similar descriptions of almost plasma-like orbs to me. They seemed kind of, I don't want to say sentient because we don't know, but man, like, but why that night do you think? Can you think of anything going on mentally that maybe your energy was off and you weren't as focused on being super positive or whatever? Like, why that night?
Honestly, I don't think that was, in my heart, I don't think that was meant to scare me. I think it's just how powerful they are. Like when they let you know that they're there. Because I've experienced this a lot, and there's times where I hear something that sounds like the impact of a car crash. That is the only, I mean, even louder than what you heard there. And I'll be like, okay, a damn tree just fell on my truck. You know, I'll go out there, it'll be nothing. It's the oddest thing. So sometimes I don't know, but I don't, I've never been hit hard. I have been hit with things before, but not hard. My sister, who's not into this, got hit in the backyard by something. It was a nut or a pine cone. I can't remember what it was now, but she came in and she's like, something just hit me. Yeah. So there's times too, like when I'm sitting out there though, and I've collected the stones, it's like pea gravel. And so I'll just be sitting there hitting the top of the cabin, right? Like I think one time it was like 5. So I'm like, I know they're there, and I'm looking at the deck, and it's a little piece of gravel, and it's still scary though. And you don't know. Like I also have, I sleep on the second floor. I have times where things absolutely hit my window, and almost it sounds like hard enough to break it. And
have you ever checked your gutters for small rocks?
I have those. I don't know that you put on. So, yeah, they don't work very good, but
I've got those too.
Cleaning them, but I do have those on my gutters. But that was taken in Galena, Ohio.
Or I thought that was from. Okay.
Oh no, that's fine. That was taken with a FLIR Scout. It was in Galena, and I believe August of 2017. I actually have that also on video, and it was in Galena. I lived up close to a preserve, and this was through my backyard. It was actually in my neighbor's yard, but I was able to take that several FLIR shots. So that's the best one. Find the exact tree, overlay daytime pictures with the FLIR images, line the trees up, go find that exact tree. And what I did is I went out there, I put a dot at my height on that tree, so go back, and then I could basically upsize to where everything lines up. With my feet at the base of the tree, with this thing's feet at the base of the tree. And that's kind of how I came up. I think that's pretty accurate.
Well, first of all, I didn't mean to rush you. My finger accidentally hit that picture.
Oh, you're fine.
Second of all, y'all that have been with us, Squatchin' Holler, since the beginning, and know that a lot of us have seen these things. This is perfect for what I've always said. I can tell you something 7.5 foot tall and 800 pounds, but until you see the mass, you can't explain that. Now look at Kain and look at this mass here. That's incredible.
That's
5'8",
such a good comparison right here, Kain. Great job on this.
Yes.
and that's, I mean, I went to the scale of the thickness of the tree. I do have it on my page. You can actually see both photos. The daytime photo with this overlaid where I've lined the width of the trees up. Nothing's exaggerated. As a matter of fact, I think I moved it a little bit lower than probably what it actually is. And also it's leaning, but I mean, its leg is as big as my body.
Right.
Wow.
And again, it's not
funny. One of our commenters literally just said the same thing.
Very, yeah. And y'all,
several clear images plus a video of it moving.
And for the commenters, right quick, I have another screen on to look at all the pictures, so I can't see y'all. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at these awesome pictures.
That's actually I got picked for the Discovery Channel. I don't know the name of what it's going to be, but the entire episode that I'm going to be on is going to be this and all the evidence. So what ended up happening too was I had an encounter out in the woods, and this was all, I don't know how they're going to present it during the show, but there's over a course of a couple days. But I had an encounter in the woods, and they followed me back home, and I got a lot of that on video. I have muddy handprints. I've got casts. So that entire show, I mean, they have, I hope, like I said, I don't even know what the name of the show is going to be, but we spent hours and hours breaking this down, and they were ecstatic that I had so much kind of evidence that I collected to back up the story. They're just ecstatic. They're like, we're lucky to get a picture, and you have all this that because by that time I'd already started documenting everything. So I knew it was important enough then to document. There was property damage. It bent my fence. This is one of the stills from the actual video. You can see the bulk of it, the arms. If any of you guys ever seen Stacy Brown's footage, like there, right there, that is a still from the video. And
it is very similar to Stacy.
Very similar.
Yeah.
And what's crazy at the time was I had all this where I lived. I was inviting people out to, like, hey man, I got the tree. You can do whatever you want to do. We can really like I have all this evidence. I got footprints. I've got the actual tree this is standing in front of, and none of the major people in the community even gave me the time of day. Now, I will say I did have some Ohio people that absolutely did. One of my really good friends, David, invited me to do the Sasquatch Triangle Conference. That's the first conference I ever did, but it's because he believed in the research that I was doing and was trying to help me get this out there as well. So,
and you were really busy this summer, and before that, you did what, Flash of Beauty and Small Town Monsters?
I did. Well, I did the whole series for Small Town Monsters, where it's like cameo appearances. They were out here a lot. I don't know how much more footage they have, but it's over several different episodes. And those people I love them, man. They're from Ohio. They're a small independent film production company, and they're out there doing it. Great people. They actually came here, spent the day with me. I had them out in the woods, and they're putting these stuff together. So that was really cool. And then the Discovery Channel is with Normatica Films. If anybody wants to see kind of what they're about, there's on Netflix.
Fortune.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very
treasure. Yes.
Very, very well done.
Oh yeah, and those were great people too. Like I said, I'm going on faith that this is gonna be good, the way they were really excited, and they really did spend a lot of time. They want to tell the story, and that's all I really ever wanted with that, was just to have the story told. I think they're going to use AI, and they're going to kind of really blend it, and it's amazing, like how much they break down. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot about me and my dog. They really focused on. I had my dog. I had a Doberman named Dozer, giant Doberman, that experienced this with me, and I mean, they asked so many questions. Like, they wanted that story. Like, me and my dog went through this together.
Yeah,
I believe what the questioning and stuff was, that it's gonna kind of be a story about me and my dog, what happened, and then what happened that night, and all the evidence that I collected. So it should be cool. And I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just so interesting that a creature of such mass we can't even comprehend. I mean, when I think of creatures of that mass, I'm thinking like bears and elephants, and even then you put it in a humanoid form with thumbs. That's just wild to me.
I love the picture right there, because that is the same camera that I was using at the time, the FLIR Scout, of a moose. And then so you can see, it's a great comparison of what I got.
It is, actually.
Yeah, I try to cover a lot of different angles. And again, like I think in some of this was the best picture I have, but I took several. One of it, when I first got it, he's standing, and I'm going through the filters, because if anybody has an actual thermal imager, sometimes you have to adjust it per night due to the humidity, if it rained. So as I see this, I am actually trying to filter, get the right filter on it, and I also trying to video it, and then finally, and this thing's moving, so I'm freaking out anyway, and I'm up there. So I got several different filter shots of it, and finally kind of got tuned in to that last shot of it. And then of course I got it moving, and then the rest of it was just kind of doing my own hillbilly method of sizing up. But I mean, I do work for a mechanical engineering office. I scale things for a living. So I'm really confident in my ability to be able to scale this out.
Are we looking at the right arm here?
If you ask my opinion, this thing's walking away from us, actually.
Okay.
And
I see it.
Its back's to us, and its arm is kind of,
it's turning away.
Yes, it was walking away from me. So it kind of looks like something peeking out in front of the tree, but it's actually walking away from me there.
Okay.
That's really cool. What's very interesting about this thermal image is it's also very.
You can almost line it up with Patty, can't you?
Yes, that
Yes,
was literally
yeah.
exactly what I was going to say. Is
That's what I was
line it with
looking at
Patty.
too.
I've done
So,
some videos on that comparing.
With this thermal image and the other one that we had, not the one of you standing with it, but of the Bigfoot, was that from the same video, or is this two separate individuals, two separate filmings?
This right here, all this that you're seeing right here is the same night, the same time. It's as it's happening.
Gotcha. This is as it's going through like different filters and that kind of stuff.
Well,
Gotcha.
well, that one actually is a still from the video. And so in the video, it's under this filter. You can see it. You see it move. You see its arm swing. That's another, just a different filter of the same. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's crazy to me how something that big can also have the dexterity to build so gently the structures from earlier in this episode that like that big of mass can,
it's like Blair Witch stuff. That's
exactly
20,
it literally is a Blair Witch looking glyph for sure.
that popped up 20 feet from my cabin, right outside this window right here.
Oh well, that's too close. Go back to the other image real quick, Roger.
This one?
Not that one.
This one?
That one. So if I'm looking at this glyph here in the top left, if I'm looking at the screen, the top left corner, it looks almost like part of the branch is like wrapped around. Is that what it's actually doing? Or is it just,
yeah.
Wow, that is really cool. I was wondering, I was looking at that, I was like, well, maybe it's just, you trying to look at a picture without context. It looks like it might just be propped up there.
That was taken the day after it was made.
Wow,
so
that's
that morning,
so cool.
that was kind of, it was so close to the cabin, it was like hard to miss. But now imagine living out here, 750 acres in the dark, no light, and you have you get in your car, it's pitch dark out, and you start driving, and you see that in your woods. Talk about the creepy factor, like, oh wow.
Yeah.
You know what? As soon as I saw it, I know y'all thought Blair Witch. As soon as I saw it, I'm thinking constellation, like a person shape.
Oh yeah.
Shoulders and a waist and legs, and we don't know, but I mean, that's exactly what I thought.
Well, I can tell you this much: there is, see how you have the X with the stick going across it. Mm-hmm. That is a very common sign out here. Not usually with the other stick, but that is a marker that there's. This one was really close to the cabin, but I could take you out to 4 other locations. Some of them maybe 45 minutes from here, but that is a sign that means something to them, because I've seen it so many times. That's when I start documenting. And sometimes you can take not so much. This structure here, like there's a gas line on the top of the ridge. There was, at one point, just inside the gas line, there was something pulled, because this gas line goes for miles. There was something that caught my eye as I was walking, and it was something like a branch or something, but I just walked into the woods, and there was something just like this, exactly like this, and I was able to follow that and find like 3 more of those, and ended up coming right back to my cabin. So, and now these have been, so this was a couple years old. These have been replaced with those asterisks you see. Now there's other sign out here, but so that was, these are like really prominent now. And these here, if you know what you're looking at, you can find where the rest of these are at. It's some stuff that I hold really close to my chest, but this is one that I have deciphered to a certain extent. Like, I can look at this right now, and I can tell you where to go to find one just like this. And it might be on top of that ridge across the way, or even farther, but there's information in these. Another thing I can tell you is this one right here, you can't see in the picture, but there is a path that goes right, like you got the bottom of the structure right here. There is a path of wild edibles that's standing right over top of, and
cool.
That were in bloom. And once you start adjusting your eyes to seeing stuff like this, then start knowing the wild edibles, then you start documenting this.
What's the smallest structure?
What's that?
What's the smallest structure you've come across roughly?
I've seen one that are about 1 foot tall, and usually when I see those are beside one that's more of a regular size one. So I've always equated that with
the youth, maybe
a youth imprinting. And you will see that like from state to state, you'll see a lot of these kind of structures, but they're a little bit different. Well, every individual or clan, you might want to call, does things a little bit differently, and I've documented that as well. And another thing, I think when we were backstage, I was telling you about my involvement with Amy Boo and Project Zoo Book and the stuff out in the Olympics. You get to watch. One of the things that really got the scientists involved with that was, they found like 27 nests out there. They were finding practice nests, and that is something that gorillas do, and that's really what turned the tide. Because they had excavators out there, they had all kinds of people trying to figure out, because they wanted to log this area, and they in order to log the area, they have to send a surveyor out there. Well, he ends up finding these nests.
Yeah. And
that, there's laws that they have to figure out what's in that area in case they don't want something extinct. And they went through this whole thing, and now it's blown up to they set that land aside. It's been over 5 years now to let people study it. There's a multitude of scientists looking at this, and it's a privilege to be able to fly on the wall and see them studying this. Now, these are universities. There's primatologists, there's marine biologists, anthropologists. There's kind of like an NDA going on right now. They don't want their names out there, but this is being studied. They've got DNA, they got footprints, they've got 27 nests. They've deconstructed the nests. So for the people out there that think this is all baloney, there's some serious science going into this right now.
That is so awesome.
I spoke with Amy a couple years ago, and she was there the day some of the scientists showed up and went in. She didn't go in with them, and she said basically when they came out after studying these nests, they were grinning ear to ear. They wasn't expecting to find what they found. And Shane Corson had explained how they stuck the sticks in to start weaving around the stick. It's intricate. I've never actually seen one. I've seen them on small town monsters and stuff, but not actually, I hadn't got a picture to study. But there you go again with the intricacies and similarities to primate nest, and there are no primates. So I can tell you this. So they interviewed me and Shane and the fellows at the Olympic Project. This is with all the scientists, and we started going in. So I'm in Ohio. They're over in the Olympic rainforest, and as we got going with their nest sites and stuff, Eric and I have found what we perceive to be nest sites here. So I stopped. I'd never had talked to Shane before this. And I stopped him and I said, hold on. I said, let you guys have already talked to the scientists. Let me explain to you what I have found, and let's see what kind of correlations we have over here on the East Coast versus the West Coast. So I went into it, and it freaking blew their mind when I started talking about the elevation, especially I mentioned, well, these things are in V formations. It was game over. They're like, I did not know that those nests in the Olympics were in V formations, but that's what Eric and I had found here in Ohio. Now, the only difference is they were using huckleberry there, which is not something you have in Ohio. Here, they were dismantling the tops of pine trees, like about 7-8 foot off the ground. They were snapping those parts off, taking them to a site and building nests out of that we documented. So, and didn't Shane say that so far up on the huckleberry, it was the same thing? They were snapping maybe the tender part, I would think, so they could weave it maybe. Yes. Yeah. Now, and huckleberries is not easy to work with. It takes a lot of strength to do what was going on. And also they could see that they were also feeding, they were eating off of the, let me ask you this. So I asked Shane, being a hunter and, paying attention to things, I would think that if it was a baby involved in the wind were coming off the coast there, I was asking if they were on like the southeast side of the hill, and there you got the morning sun, right? In a place where the wind's blocked off, don't want the baby, you got the morning heat, and then at night you'll have the leftover residual, that kind of fades away. But is that something you found? 100% thermal dynamics in the woods. Yes. And not only this, absolutely, there's a side of the hillsides. There's a placement at elevation, and there's certain places in the woods that sound carries tremendous amount further. Like I have places here that I can hear so much clearer. And I was actually taught this by my fellow buddy Richard. He's a
I probably don't want to talk too much about his history, but he was special forces, and he was kind of a man tracker for the government. And when I was showing him where things were crossing through my property, he immediately comes and he goes, "Come here." Walk right to where they were at, crossing through. And he was like, "Do you notice anything?" And I'm like, "No."
They can see your cabin from every spot, probably.
They could see that, but it was crazy. You stand in that position. I have a pond and I have a fountain, so you hear the water, and it's kind of hard to hear. But standing in that exact spot, you can hear everything.
Is it kind of like
everything? Yeah, it's just a place, and I had never noticed that. So then now there's parts in the woods where it's just by the audio dynamics of the woods, you can just hear better in certain places. And I can tell you this, I live, I don't have too many cars on my road, but if I'm outside, I can tell you when, I'm about 3 miles from the main state route. As you go down, I have a little dirt road that I live on, but if I'm outside, I can tell you when a car pulls onto my road. Not only that, but I can hear, now I know which neighbor it is. I know, and I can tell when someone pulls into my driveway. Yep. So imagine something that's living out there. I know if something's out there, they can hear my car, they can hear me turn in the driveway, they can hear the car door shut, because I can hear it.
Well, people might think you're crazy, but growing up on a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, you can almost tell whether it's a car or truck by the type of tires.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a guy that
knows if it's your dad's truck, your brother's truck, if it's the neighbor's truck, whose it is just by the different sounds that it makes.
Yeah, there's a guy that lives on another holler over. I keep swearing I'm going to sneak over to his house at night and fix his muffler. Insane. Is
just carries. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's the other thing I've noticed. You think, why does Sasquatch sometimes get a little squirrely? I can tell you by just me, when I'm out here and I'm in my zone and I hear a plane go overhead, it makes me mad. Or if I'm trying to video something, I hear a car or this freaking guy with his loud muffler, you got to stop. I mean, it's upsetting. You're so used to it's kind of hard for me to sleep in the city now because it's so quiet out here. When I do spend the night and you're just close to houses are close to you and there's people walking down the street, that to me is so foreign now that it's hard for me to sleep because it feels like there's someone right outside the window. And to me, this is comfort. A lot of people, it might be scary for them, but for me, I'm nestled out here in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, like I said, you have to be lost to find me. And that's a comfort to me. It really is, because no one's coming out here.
It took me a while to get used to this dead end street in town, because I grew up in the country also, and it doesn't take long. We went out for 10 days, Wyoming, Nebraska, and all out in there. And when I got back here in this small town, I felt claustrophobic because of the people.
Yeah.
You feel free where you're at, you feel more free. And then when something like an airplane, I get it. I've been, some of my best thinking time was in the woods. I would go walking or whatever. So you've got is this a nest or a tent structure here?
Oh, wow.
Okay. So so this is right.
And there's that beam you were talking about. You can see that same similar.
Yeah, this was built July of last year, right across my pond. The crazy thing about this was, like I said, my friend Eric, fellow researcher, he hunts my property. This was his tree stand. Imagine this. He has a tree stand that was 50, 60 feet away facing this. So his hunting area, and in between the two, he had a deer feeder. Now, who in their right mind is going to build a deer blind or set up their own deer blind or something in front of someone else's tree stand, which is obvious. If you're in the line of fire. And what's crazy about this, you probably put 8 adults in this thing, but when they did not break the branches. They bent them over, and they used all that lumber there and weighed the branches down. And the whole backside of this is all just branches that have been added. And the genius part of this is this comes back this came back this year, just as the foliage is the same, because it didn't break. You didn't kill the leaves on
I know it's kind of a jump, but like it does remind me a lot of crop circles, how intricate patterns, designs, communication that hasn't been necessarily deciphered yet. And as soon as you said bending without breaking, the first thing that came to my head was like crop circles.
Yeah, where they don't actually break the reed. The other cool part about this was that at one point, Eric had a trail cam facing his deer feeder, so you can tell, the deer coming in. And in his trail cam picture, you can see that big log that's on top of there. It was on the ground. So we have that documented that's a big log, man. It was picked up and put on there to weigh all that down. And then on the backside, they used just the sticks and stuff that were around. And we even documented over the course of that summer, that big opening at a certain point was closed in. So at one point there was no opening. I have that documented, and there is a ravine from the top of the ridge that like someone my size or even bigger, you can get in this ravine, and it goes right. You can almost see it through the hole there.
I can see it.
You're undercover. You can go undercover in this ravine right up into this, and one, you have a vantage point of that deer stand. And the other is you have a vantage point of across the pond. That's where I sit. And when I'm out at night and stuff, I'm sitting on my deck. You can see, something can go in there and just get a lay of the land. Like, okay, no one's in the deer stand. Is that a weird guy up there that plays the drums? Is he out on the deck tonight? This is also in the general area where I get that first knock that I tell you about. It's on this side of the woods. I've also, before this, I documented another, it wasn't quite as intricate as this, but another blind where it looked like something was sitting on the hill that could watch me, walk around the cabin or be on my deck. And I found another one that was about 45 minutes from the property. And, two different ways from my property. It's several miles to the next road, so it's all just woods. And then I think my actual road has 10 houses on it and 10 miles. So we're spread out, I
have a question. This may be just stupid, but the left side of this picture, the left side of the structure, wouldn't be happen to be pointing northwest, would it?
There's a lot of stuff that is not in this picture that was also left. One of them is a pretty prominent sign, and off the top of my head, I don't know which direction it. But like a what do you call that? Like a forked branch. Like I've done videos on this around the property and showed people like one of the things to look for. It's like a forked branch, and it's long, and it'll be stuck in a tree parallel. And I have those on my property, and there's one of those actually just out of frame on this, and it's I'm trying to think which way it's. I can't remember which side the fork versus.
I was just thinking a windbreak, and then you have the backside of it looks like a escape route because there's nothing in the way, and then you could actually put stuff against this tree here to block up for that side. Yeah,
the backside of that ravine, so you can go right off the back end of that ravine under cover, and it's only like I'm sorry, it's only maybe 20 feet from the deer feeder. So my thought is, they're, at night, they're probably getting in there, and that's when deer get, they might be using that to hunt too, since he had the deer feeder there.
That's
Something very interesting too. So Eric, had it wasn't an automatic deer feeder. It was one of those ones where you have to kind of build it up so when they're eating the nozzle, more corn pulls out. So he had it all built up, and after all this had happened, all the sticks that he had built up for the nozzle to come out were gone, and they were laid in a row, like something just did this. And of course, we documented that as well. Pretty cool.
That's seeing things like that and then paying attention to it. You're right. I don't get out enough. I do get out on one piece of land quite a bit, and using some of your information, actually started paying more attention to how things were broken.
Yeah.
And I feel like we know what here might be a directional marker, either towards water or towards danger. And it's just a simple break facing this way. You're on a trail and then you see a fresh break. We have found water sources going the way the break is. And we've also found tree stands and other things. So I don't know. It could have several meanings, like be careful this way or whatever. I don't know. But because of you, I'm looking at things different now.
I don't know if like a lot of people in your audience know, but a lot of markers and signs and stuff will change. Like sometimes people will only see one once in a lifetime. But once you start documenting this, like one thing's the bow. All right. Yeah. Eric and I had documented this for several years. There's bows that at one point it's locked down. You come back a couple minutes later, it's back open, and we're like, okay, the trail's closed, trail's open, swung around. Stuff like that will change. I've also documented actual structures. You go back a couple years later, that structure is completely down, and there's a new structure. So part of what I do out here, I call it like spring cleaning. It's almost like right in the beginning of spring. Things come through and they kind of build this stuff like almost like, okay, what's changed in the area, and these structures will change. And I mean, for anybody that's why I've been so strong about talking about tree structures and stuff is that there's so much documentation that this is not random stickfall. These things are changing. They mean something.
It's interesting that these creatures, whatever they are, again, we're assuming Bigfoot, but it's interesting that they would even need shelter. Like if they're such hardy creatures, and yet, that sentientness of needing shelter or wanting shelter, maybe it's just, proximity more than shelter itself. But man, has anybody, either yourself, Kain, or maybe you know of other people who've done it, but has anybody ever taken witching rods to these structures and mapped out any type? Okay, let's hear about it.
Yeah.
Yes, I am a dowser. I've done all that, and usually what I'm trying to do now is down at the end of my road there's an Indian mound, and if you know anything about where the
prominent in Ohio.
Very prominent.
Yeah, at one point, Ohio had over 10,000 Indian mounds. It also had a stone pyramid that was the biggest man-made structure in North America until they decided to disassemble it and build a dam out of it for a place called Buckeye Lake, which is a cesspool. Very strongly about like stuff like that really bothers me, the heritage that was destroyed. But the natives,
I agree with you, sir.
Yeah, the natives use kind of like a type of feng shui. They built their villages and their monuments and their mounds in special areas that probably was collected through way lines. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is some of the times that the natives knew an area was special because they could feel it vibrating through their feet. Now we're a culture that wears shoes, so we have no idea what the ground that we're stepping on. And there's really prominent places in the United States where if you take your shoes off, the ground is vibrating. And to them, that is that was a sign. And they're probably right. There's something special about these areas.
And when Ashley asked about why would something need shelter, what popped into my head, maybe the difference between having hair instead of fur.
Yes.
That is a really good point.
I will tell you this, what I have found, and this is just, I've never really considered any of the structures or even what we saw that big. I don't view that as a shelter. The stuff that I have found that I know is they bed down kind of like deer, and you'll see all these big impressions. So maybe this is more to hide, to
ambush point.
Yeah.
Ambush. Yep.
I do know just from all the tracking that I've done, if you're really into tracking, you can see, I've tracked things long enough to where you can see their comfort. From a stroll, really thick wooded area where there's very little visibility, you can tell by the way it's walking that it's comfortable. And then when the area gets really thin, and you can tell by their stride that they go through those areas fast. That's telling me that they're comfortable with foliage. And I also think that, like, when we're trying to get them at night on thermal, a lot of times they're still hiding behind a tree because I think they think that we can see them as well as they can see us. So I think they're just by nature, they want to be hidden. That was that's a still from a video as well. And for the audience there, if you notice down by the leg, you can tell that it did move because it moved its leg behind that tree.
Yeah, you can see a difference in the two.
Yeah, and it's also tilting its head back. That happened during a tree knock, and I captured the tree knock on video. And what I was doing is I had my back turned to this, and I was filming. I was looking this way, but I was filming behind my back and kind of just panning. And I was able to get that on camera as well. And then obviously I went up and did all the homework to try to judge the distance, how tall it was. And this one was not, to my recollection, this one was depending on how close it was to the back of the tree, it could have been 6 to 7 feet. It wasn't giant.
What is it hiding? Is that a rock or is that a tree stump?
It's actually a tree. It's just, this was probably taken on an iPhone 8 or something at the time. And it was a good 120, probably let's just say like 100 yards away up on a ridge. So it's blown up. So that's about as good as quality of a picture I could get at the time.
Mm.
And that's one thing that people forget when they give you crap about quote unquote blob squatches, is like, you have to remember the quality of what you're using in some of this stuff.
Oh, it's
on top of like
compared to even
the pixelization and digitization, it all affects all that kind of stuff.
Well, I say all the time, I could tell you, hey, go to the woods over here. I know there's squirrels. Take an iPhone and come back in 2 hours with a good picture of a squirrel. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but it's harder than you think it is.
I got
it really is.
Blurry pictures of bears in creek beds. That doesn't mean the bear didn't exist. It's
that's a great question. Sorry, I have a lot of questions. I apologize.
I actually do too. I'm trying to figure out when to cut in because I don't want to.
I talk a lot. You just tell me to shut up.
No.
Kain's like family. Y'all tell him to shut up.
Yep. I don't care at all.
How do I phrase this? So like bears, deers, raccoons, possums, whatever I almost said Idaho, Ohio has. Do you notice there's any type of barrier in your property where certain animals you won't find, as opposed to maybe just even a few yards outside of barrier? Or
I do have bear dens on my road. I've never seen a bear here. I have casted some bear prints. There's bobcats. Now, the thing about Ohio, the biggest thing you're going to get in Ohio is a black bear. So that's one of the cool things about Ohio. And 250 pound, maybe a 300 pound black bear in Ohio is a big bear. And there are, like I said, with trail cams up, all the stuff that I've done, I have never got a bear on my picture of it, but they've been down by my pond. I've casted their footprints down there. That's rare, but there's an area not too far. It's on my property that I call the boneyard. And
interesting.
You walk for
Not ominous at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might, yeah.
You can walk a mile in this certain stretch of woods, and it is littered with bones.
High Point, whatever it is.
It goes all the way up both two different ridges, and I just always call it the boneyard. Just there's so many dead deer out there, and even across my across my property out in no man's land, it continues. So it's just something about an area. You're talking about a line. There's a distinct line where there's an awful lot of bones out there.
Yeah,
that's not ominous at all. Do you ever notice any movement with any of the bones? Like you notice some of the tree structures and things like that might have some movement or changes in it. Is there ever any changes that you notice that might not be more than just something natural messing with the bones?
Have you ever found any bones in a asterisk or any other standing structure?
I've not, but I had the fellows at OCR here. Richard Dean was out here, and I was out showing him some stuff, and he's just smiling. He's like, "So you don't see that?" And I'm like, looking all around. He's like, "No, you're thinking about this too hard." I'm looking all over, and I don't see anything that he's talking about. And finally, he's like, "Look in front of you."
I remember that picture.
Ear femur stuck into the stub of a tree limb that was broken off, and I mean, I didn't even know it was there. I mean, he saw it right when I came up, and I'm looking around, and I didn't put that thing there, and like I said, there's no one there, so I don't know. You find weird stuff like that. I've had bricks that outside that'll be stuck up on, like higher than I can reach them, like on the cabin, up on the log sticking out of the cabin. There'll be like a brick up there. Little weird things that happen.
Also, I want to rewind the conversation a little bit back to when we were talking about noises and like rocks and sticks and all sorts of noises. There's been many reports of supposed Bigfoots being able to mimic noises, mimic noises. Do you think in that footage we watched, sorry, I have a whole thing of notes here that I've been taking this entire time, so I'm trying to get back to all these questions. Do you think that really loud crack noise in the video you played, is it possible they were trying to mimic a gunshot more so than throw something at you?
Anything is possible. This is an interesting point.
It is.
Well, I've talked about these the high impacts and stuff that you hear. You heard that. You would think that would have left a mark or something on the tin roof. Some of the times where I say it sounds like it equates to a car crash. There's never any damage. I've never seen any. Now I have seen trees snapped and stuff, but it's something that's weird. And even that night, so you saw the videos of that impact. That was happening over a course of hours. This was like every 10 minutes something was happening all through July 4th night, way into the after I even just got done.
They were just super patriotic, like all of us.
Well,
that is true.
The one where I'm kind of cussing. What had happened is that big one had happened actually first. So I had all the lights off in the cabin, and I have a thermal. So I went upstairs and opened the window and turned the thermal on and just got out the window. I started looking around, and that's when something hit right over the top of my head. And that's what startled me. I fell back into the cabin. I'm cussing, and then I get back up, and I'm looking over trying to find it. And that's where you first see that thermal image over top my carport. And then it ends up disappearing when I pan back to my left, that other thermal, the weird blob looking, that was not far from me at all. It was not there at first. So when the one disappears and I go back and I pan over, and that's right there. And I don't know what that is.
Y'all, there's about 60 or 70 more people in here now. Y'all want to run that again so they'll know what we're talking about?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, play it again for the new people. And
now that you've heard what he said, listen, there's a couple times you hear the rock hit. The one hit close to him the first time, and then there's a bigger one that hit,
yeah,
just
it's very loud. So watch out to your headphone wearers.
So we got a minute 5 seconds. We'll run it again. Here we go.
Shit. Shit. Hey!
All right. Did you get to do any size guesstimations?
That was really hard. I mean, my carport's like 10 foot tall. So the first image you see there, the other one, I don't know. It's really kind of hard to gauge what that looks like two to me. You almost see two different.
One port right there. Yeah. I wish I was a way I could pause it. It definitely looks like it goes to two there for a minute. Yeah. So I instantly think eyes when you see that.
Yeah. And it was, so like I said, that when the first part of that video, that was after I'd already locked up the cabin, and all the lights were off, and I went upstairs to try. I have a $4,000 thermal, and that's what I'm using. I trying to get the jump on this thing. And as soon as I go out the window, that clunk you hear, that's something right over my head. And it startled me. I rolled back, and when I come back out, that first image you see me panning, that's the area where that looks like two. It was not there. And then I go over and I'm focusing on, I'm like, what is that? Trying to kind of cussing under my breath because it scared me, got the jump on me. And then when I pan back, there's the other, like the one finally disappears. It actually goes behind this big pine tree. And then I pan back, and then I'm like, holy crap, there's something like right there. And like I said, that happened. That happened all night, like for hours. And you heard that impact. But these are the nuts that fall. So if you think that impact was caused by this, there's no weight to these little acorns. Yes, nuts fall. Nuts drop. Actually, nuts are dropping now. And you hear them. Yeah, you hear the tink, and these are high impact. Like and when you're live, it sounds like a gunshot. That's what it sounds like a shotgun.
And I wonder, like, some of us have a different, as Bama Murdoch says, we have different sound banks where we identify different sounds throughout our life, and there it is. And we had some things happening similar to what was going on there. We were out in the woods, me and my son, and we heard like 3 or 4 green sapling trees break, high pressure, pow. And I got to thinking about it, and a lot of people talk about a whip crack. Well, if you think about that, I was assuming it was the trees, which I'm pretty sure it was. And maybe people that haven't been in the woods much may associate that with Ashley's the one that gave me the idea, either a gunshot or a whip crack or something like that. But to me, it was consistent with a green tree snapping. So maybe we're hearing the same thing, calling it different things. I don't know.
I have
It's a
theory.
possibility.
I don't know. This is just something I kick around in my head. But what if it's something breaking the sound barrier and you're getting a little sonic boom? Because
Exactly
some
right.
of the stuff I hear, man, so powerful.
Right.
It
would sound like a 22 gunshot, maybe, where you don't hear the boom.
And it's
Yeah.
exactly
Makes a sound
sounded
barrier.
like a 22 to me.
Yeah, crack.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
And like I said, I've had that. I mean, multiple times. It happens out here pretty frequently during the summer.
No,
And
it's
then
just youngins like you go talk to him. You go talk to him. No, you go talk to him. And then one throws it, and then it's like, oh shit, and then like, oh shit.
yeah, you get. I mean,
You throw the rock. No,
Yeah, you throw the rock.
I know people that they when they want to get your attention, there's no denying it, and there's no denying the power. Like, if you can be as bad as you want, you can have a gun on you. When you're faced with that kind of power, not only can you feel it, you're not doing nothing. You are. I my cabin. Some of the logs in my cabin are 28 inches thick. I feel like I'm in a fortress. There ain't nothing stopping that thing from going through my door if it wanted to. So very respectful, and having been so close proximity to that kind of power, I can tell you for a fact, nobody's challenging that. If it's if it's sending out that kind of a power or a challenge, yeah, you're not doing nothing but probably freezing and shutting down. Because I would hate to see what's next. I'm sure there's more that they can do. So you have to kind of, I'm super respectful, and I still get this.
The time that we got the rock tossed at us, I make that distinction because it wasn't thrown like a baseball; it was lobbed at us, but it was probably double fist sized. I didn't feel threatened. I felt like it was hey, y'all need to leave. Don't advance any further, and we did that. So it's just maybe a warning to keep something bad them from having to protect their babies or something. So you look in nature, a rattlesnake will do the same thing. It'll give you a warning. It don't want any trouble. There's other the low growls.
Well, going back to
you blew my mind with the sound barrier thing, though.
Yeah,
we're the creepy thing in the woods to them. Like, what is that doing here?
Yeah. Well, think about this. The Native Americans, they had a term they called Sasquatch. Some of them did. The Sietko. The Sietko, if you look up the description of it, they call them stick Indians. Now, and they were wild brothers that didn't have a house, that didn't use fire, all the things you would attribute to a Sasquatch. And my theory is, okay, back then they called them stick Indians because back then they knew the signs. And like you can imagine a chief walking in the sun and they see a big axe or whatever, they're like, we're going this way, we're in Sietko territory. And I think that knowledge has been forgotten. And so now I think all these same things are still there in the woods. They're still doing the same thing. We just don't recognize it. So people are walking into the woods, and I think they're doing us a favor. And I think what happens a lot of times is people aren't recognizing the warning signs at first, because there is the way they step it up. It'll usually be a knock. And then if you keep going, it's going to be probably something getting thrown in your direction, like, hey, dude, we're here. And then if you still can't hear that, then you might hear what we call a display of power, the slow breaking, like, dude, you better turn around. And I think their last form, last thing they want to do is show themselves. But I think a lot of people are naive because we've forgotten this history, because we don't listen to the Native Americans that lived here for 10,000 years. We pretty much said all your stuff's myth and you guys don't know what you're talking about, when we should have been taking some of their history and preserving that because I believe that that's how people get into situations. I'm going to put my hammock right under this nice X here or something, and they don't know that they are being very disrespectful to an area that they are assuming that we should recognize. That's just my take on it.
You know, and I have people, well, why do they want to stay away from us? And well, some people may shoot them. Well, it could be as simple as they know what kind of diseases we carry too. And they don't want any part of it. It could be that simple, but we don't know. It's just, it's fun to have the discussions.
Well, again, you look at Native American history, you know, I compare a lot of things. You know, at the time of Jesus, there was probably 1 million Native Americans that living on this continent. You know, we don't realize, like, by the time the cowboy and Indian days started, the Indians were already decimated from disease. Mm-hmm. They had not built back, so it was bad timing. As the Europeans came over, they brought disease, and that went through, and it was really a horrible thing that happened to the natives, is that disease went through and just decimated our population. So they were trying to, that's where Cahokia and all these major, I mean, Cahokia probably had 1 million people living around it, and that's where these giant mounds and everything that we see. And yeah, it's, if something's looking like, oh, these people here bring death. You know, we saw what happened to the natives. Maybe we don't need to get
everything was fine to them with different colored people showed up. Need to stay away from them.
It goes back to that Project Zoo book. Well, when you're in those, when you're talking to like the primatologists and stuff, and there's people actually involved that work with the gorillas in the zoos, you don't realize how susceptible gorillas are to human disease. They have to wear masks. I mean, they like, you don't go do any kind of health care on the gorillas if you got a cold, or I mean, that is very regulated, because they are so susceptible to they don't have any natural defense. So that's something to think about. You know, and one of the people that spoke was this guy that he's discovered, I can't even tell you how many what they thought were new species and species they thought were extinct. And out of all the things that he wanted to talk about, he talked about, he said, finding a new, usually how it works when you make a new discovery, it's the last day over the last ridge, and it's the last, like, he's like, it just works that when you are burnt out and you can got no any further, and you just go over that last ridge, is usually when you make the discovery. And he talked about they were going as a through this searching for weeks for this, I think it was a type of bird, and it was that same thing. It's like they were burnt out, they're out of food, and they're like, we got to go. And we're like, well, let's just hit this last valley. They go this last valley, they do it, they discover this bird, and they cheer, you know, they high five each other. It disturbs the bird. It flies off its roost in the valley, this extinct thing that they had just found, and they watch a hawk come down and kill it.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And he's like,
he's
like, he goes, that's our fault.
Yeah.
He's like, our presence in that valley caused that
right.
extinct creature, you know, we discovered it and killed it on the same day. And that's the lesson he wanted everyone to kind of think about. That. So you take all those lessons with you. You know, is it safe for them to get close to that close? You know, we do have diseases. They probably do not have any kind of natural.
Vice versa, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't know.
Well, you know, MK Davis told us a story.
I was just thinking about that.
He didn't realize he stuck his finger in some jelly looking stuff. Didn't realize it.
Looking nasty.
Snot in a footprint or something he was messing with out in Bluff Creek, and he got deathly sick for weeks.
Yeah, I think he was even hospitalized too for a while.
And didn't realize it till they rewatched the video and was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" He didn't even know he touched it. So, yeah, we worry about the big spooky monsters, and what we need to worry about is the little micro.
Yeah,
that's what gets us, but.
Right.
You got a couple pictures here. I think I see a face. I want you to tell me what's going on here.
Okay. Do you have a picture of me that's almost like that?
I do.
Show that one first, and I'll explain. Okay.
Like this?
Yep, that's perfect. So I've been experimenting with how to take pictures in zero light, and not using a trail cam, but using kind of like a plot washer that you can adjust your exposure. This is on a timer. This has no flash. It's just out in the woods. It's hidden, and it's just taking pictures. And I got it adjusted enough to where you can, you see the picture of me with the same camera. You can recognize that it's me, and it's good enough. And this is zero light, middle of night. The picture that you see beside it is a picture that I got, and you can kind of go through and imagine someone that is black skinned. You can see the brow. You can start at the top. You can see a hairline, dark forehead. You can almost see the wrinkles in its
in
brow,
the center, right above the nose.
Yeah, right.
Wide nose, bulbous cheek, mouth, and what looks like a kind of a goatee or something. It's my thought that if I was, caught on camera stealing copper, could you take that picture of me? Yeah. Could you take that picture of me and take me to court? Could you recognize me from that picture?
Yeah.
And if so, then could you recognize that individual from that? Was it good enough? Is it good enough? Now, the only difference between it is I'm white, and this is obviously a dark skinned individual.
You
can almost see the eyeballs, like the edge on the
brow, the brow
left
ridge.
side.
You can see the brow ridge. You can see the bridge of the nose. You can see the cheeks, the chin as it sticks out, the kind of the mouth area too. It took me a second, and my eyes had to adjust.
Kind of have to see it.
But I'm gonna tell you something.
I was taken in my backyard, by the way.
It's in our thumbnail over here on StreamYard, where it's really small, you can really see it good. And I was looking at it while Kain's been talking, and I'm like, I can see it better in the small version because it's more
There's
compact.
some that are like that when it's really just, it almost looks too completely symmetrical, almost like you draw almost a perfect line down the center between where the nose is, that line on the forehead.
Look at the
whatever you call
cheekbones.
this part of the lip right here.
Yeah, and that is again, the reason I like to show this picture is that's why we have to keep trying new ideas. Just saying trail cams don't work and this and that. Well, why don't trail cams work?
And there's texture
think out of
to
the box.
skin. It looks like there's a small kind of, I don't want to say light source, but if you go back, the more we look at this picture.
The light source was coming from my cabin, the window, like the TV or something in my cabin. So there is a light source to that side of its face.
I keep pointing to the screen as if you guys can see. But look where the light source is. You can see texture to the skin.
Exactly. You can tell where the direction of the light is coming from. Even as pixelated as it is, you can still tell all of that.
See, to me, I feel like I could recognize this individual if I saw him again. If I got him stealing my copper, I think if I saw him on the street, I'd be like, "Hey, dude, I got you on camera." And that
especially
is
with that beard.
Yeah, especially almost as mutton chops looking type.
That individual is 8 feet tall.
Wow.
It was taken, and part of what I had to do with zero light conditions is what I was doing. I was trying to create a backdrop. So what I did is I used the solar lights instead of pointing them out towards the yard. I used my cabin as a backdrop to give a little bit of ambient light in the frame. And then just so happens, I believe when that picture was taken, there was a light on in my cabinet shining through the window. It was actually, you can see the bigger picture. You can see the light from the window crossing the yard, and it was standing right in the shadow, right underneath my bedroom window, just out of the light. It was standing right there. And just like the other FLIR image, I did a side-by-side comparison, and I'm about the size of its leg or its arm. I'm sorry. I have another picture of it where you can see its arm. And when I do the comparison, my body is about the size of its arm, and it's got a giant long arm on it.
And I know people, just quickly, I won't tell everything, but this past weekend, I met Adam Colt, one of Doug's sound guy, Chris Reinhardt, and Bud came down, and he pulled out, he was showing us something he invented. It does it hangs, and it takes a 360 image, and it doesn't have anything that a coyote or anything could pick up on. I'm not a techie, but way he explained it, he thinks they will have a better chance of taking a picture because there's nothing IR for a creature to see. So, if that makes sense. So
I play the long game. I'm here for as long as I'm here. I set things out in the woods out there that have been out there 3 or 4 years that I plan on someday putting a camera in there.
Yeah,
but let it get acclimated. I have an owl sitting out. This owl's been abused by something. It's been all over my property, but I got it out in the woods. I haven't done anything with it. It's just sitting out there for probably 3 years now. But it does have a place in it where eventually I can put a camera in there and just see what happens.
So what you do is check when their strides are shorter, they're comfortable, right?
Well,
they're coming through.
Talking about, when we talk about the family group, when I cast those 24-inch prints, I was able to do some calculations. The stride, it took me what it took me in 4 steps. It took me 4 steps to every one of this, and in 4 steps it went like 18.3 feet. Then you start doing the math on this thing on going up an incline and up a hill, it was traveling at over 3 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
If you think about this, I live out in the woods where emergency services are 45 minutes away. I know that because I have to pay. I have to pay extra insurance because I'm out here. If I have a Bigfoot in my yard and I call the police and I say you need to get out here, if it takes them 45 minutes to get here, that thing potentially at a walk, that thing potentially could be 3 miles away within an hour. So think about that. Another thing, very interesting, when I casted that, it changed directions. I have a surveillance camera pointing at I have a blind turn in my driveway. I have a surveillance camera pointing right in that, like someone goes in that blind turn, you're right there. If it would have walked straight, it would have walked right in front of that surveillance camera, but it didn't. It sidestepped it, went right around the backside of it. And I got that documented as well. I will show you.
Y'all watch. This is amazing.
This is.
He hid behind the first time he showed it to us. He was hiding behind it.
Oh my gosh! I'm gonna put you full screen so hopefully everybody can see.
Look how deep that is.
You can see the hill. You see So there's the heel.
60 pounds of concrete.
Try to get it over here. I got 4 of these. Now,
one of the size of those, just one of those toes is nearly as big as your hand.
Yeah, I mean, here's the toe right here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, this is the width of the toe right here.
That is by far the biggest track I have ever seen in my
That's
entire
literally
life.
the biggest one I have ever
seen.
That
there's a toe right there. These measured exactly the same size as Richard's. Now I'll just show. This is Dad. All right, you can see Dad. Let me grab.
I can't even begin to fathom a creature that big. It almost makes you wonder. Now you're actually getting to giant territory. That's alarming.
Well, what I say, that's an alpha. That's a real alpha. This is Mom. This is. It's kind of hard to see her toes in there. You gotta see.
You can kind of see them, with the light.
Yeah.
Have you noticed the female tracks being shaped a little different than the male?
Yes. Yeah. There's a little bit of a bow in there. Yeah. In their instep, and of course, this is Junior. This one you can really see now.
Wow.
Now you see how this is white. the casting material that I used on this one has been shrinking. So this is actually a lot smaller than when it started. But you can still see that's way bigger than, well, you can for a size comparison.
Right.
One thing I like
Not to mention the toe spread of that as well.
Splayed toes. I go, when I give talks and stuff, I go a lot into when you look at indigenous people that have never worn shoes in their life, their toes are splayed.
Yeah, they have a
do not look like ours.
So I know you're a math man. Tell us how tall you estimate the 24-inch alpha would be. You've told me before, but I don't remember.
There's a ratio. This is by, I think, through Boston College, something. So for every inch of a foot, and this is, you have to go by 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch. It's 6.6 times 1, I believe. So I have my calculator here. And try to find it. It's been a minute. I don't have that number on the top of my head, but I can certainly do the math here. Let's see. Here we go. So 24 inches divided by 12. 13'2".
Holy smokes.
That's going not by me. That's what they use. Like, okay, so Shaquille O'Neal has like a size 21 foot shoe. His foot is actually like 15 inches. Yeah. But his shoe size is enormous. And at 15 inches, he's like 7 foot something. So I use that that's what for human, if a human had a 24-inch footprint, they would judge that he would be 13.2 inches tall. And that's really all we can go by.
What I find, maybe just me looking at those tracks, of course, we know the bigger, the heavier alpha is a bigger foot. And then you have the smaller ones graduate down, but the depth is almost the same.
That is actually an interesting observation.
Yeah. It's, I tell people, when people give their accounts, a lot of people, they say this, whatever they saw in the woods, scarred them for the rest of their life. They saw a monster. They saw something that they will live with the rest of their life, probably with some PTSD. And I don't really feel like this really covers what these people are describing. That 24-inch track, that's a monster. And I don't know. Very interesting. There was a sighting here, 2 individuals, and they were out on the deck. I was actually being interviewed. They were doing a little documentary, and they decided to use my cabin because I have a great room and all this. So and I wasn't supposed to be involved in this interview at all, but they were talking about the lights in the woods, and he wanted to get me on camera talking about some of the experience I've had with lights out here. So I'm in here. They're filming in here. He's interviewing me, and the other people are out on the deck, and because you got to be quiet and everything. So they're out there, and something must have happened. We think it was either a bat or a moth flew in front of a motion light that I have out front, and the motion light turns on. And 2 individuals look, and they see this thing as it's like catches crossing the driveway, and they put the height of this thing right around over 13 feet. I have a picture of the guy doing. He's 6 foot something. He's a really tall guy, and he's on a 6-foot ladder, putting up where there was a branch, and they took a rope from where his eyes were, where he saw it, all the way to where that branch was, and he's up there putting that together so we can get a size. So I mean, I know that sounds unbelievable, and
no, not at all.
For me, it's just documentation. A House of Enoch I've had over a decade. I've never claimed something was a Bigfoot. That's for the audience to decide. My job is to present you with enough evidence to make your own decision, to have enough evidence to even have an opinion, to have, it's okay if you don't believe it. But here is all the evidence. Just like with the FLIR image I have. If you go to the site, you see the backyard, you see the tree, you see like every step and how I came to the conclusion how big this was. And you can either agree with it or not. And it's pretty funny that over the years, no one has disputed that. I mean, it's almost like when you give so many facts to back what you're putting out there, it takes a lot of the nonsense questions out, because you've done your part, you've answered. And then you don't put the stigma that this is a Bigfoot. You just say, hey, I'm in Ohio. This is where this happened. You tell me what this is. And it's usually.
Do you have any markings around your home, either in your yard or in a tree line with built-in measurement in them? So anything that you like, obviously, your property, you can look out and know that something's like 8 foot tall. But I mean, do you have, and I hate to, it almost, the way I'm imagining in my head is almost like booby trap in a way, where it's like you literally went out of your way to set something up with scale, mass.
Yeah, I mean, there's things like I know from the ground to the top of my cabin, the ridge line of my cabin, that's 8 foot. I know my door of my cabin is 7 foot, and that's where I have that one no light camera is facing my cabin with the backdrop. My only thing I wanted to get was a silhouette. I don't even care. I just wanted to see a shadow go across my yard and catch the silhouette of it. I got more than that, but I do that. My carport, I know that, my carport's 10 foot. I hike so much in the winter and in the summer. I know the areas where there's less foliage, and there's been a few situations where I've had something tracking me, and I've got myself in position, like get to the spot I want to get in and lay down, because I know there's a clearing. I'll have my thermal. I'll be like, okay, if you're going to follow me, you're going to have to, like, I know some places in the woods where I had the advantage. And that particular time, it was like a waiting game. And I waited until it got dark. And then I started hearing something creeping up behind me, and I'm like, all right, you win. But those are things I keep in mind, like most everything is they have the advantage, but at least now I do have a home advantage too, because I live here as well. So I know where those deep ravines are that you can run up and hide from. I feel like if someone was to try to come get me on my home turf, you're a dead man. I know my area so well. First of all, you're never going to find me. Two, I have every advantage to a human that would try to cause me harm out here. I feel that way about them. Like, they have every advantage, but at least now we're living under the same canopy. So I have a little bit of a chance. I can't walk, 3 miles an hour. I can't do all the things they can do, but I do know the area pretty well, to where I might be able to set up a little spot. I document where they cross, which changes. It changes from year to year. There'll be a popular crossing area. And it's almost like once you realize that and I start documenting, it's about when it changes. Like, I had a whole summer where I was putting up fishing line across these trails. And when the fishing line would be, I had them up at like 7 feet. When those would be down, I would go out there and start looking for prints. And that's how I got a lot of tracks. And that's how I figured out, okay, mom, I'd see one line down, I go, and then now I know, okay, the mom's go a little closer to the cabin. I find her, then I know somewhere outside of that the juvenile is going to be, and I knew outside of that I'm going to find the alpha. And it's just, even as big as his, I've seen his prints multiple times. It's just very rare to be able to cast something. This happened right after a rain. And it's going up. I mean, I could see it as I was driving by. I'm like, that's a giant foot, and had the foresight to stop. And then I found, 3 more, and I'm like, okay, I have to document this. Yeah. I went out and got my casting material in this little bag and like poured it in the heel. It filled up like the heel, and I'm like, okay. The only thing I could do, I was scared if it keeps raining, it's going to wash these tracks out. So I just went and got, 4 bags of 60-pound bags of concrete and filled them in. I'm like, okay, at least I have this preserved.
And what
when you say them, are you meaning just the alpha, mom, and junior, or are you meaning like multiples of the alpha?
I think I think here, if I'm saying them, it's usually that little family group. There's possibly more. There could be up to 5. I documented those 3 enough that I can confidently say, and I still to this day I don't say those are Sasquatch, but
yeah, you don't know.
I usually say these are the individuals that are crossing my property. This is what they do. This is the habits they have, and this is the size of their feet. It's up to you to decide what. If this is a human print, then so be it. It's a human print. If this is a 9-foot-tall platypus walking in the hills of Hockey County, then they're fine. But there's the evidence.
I found something.
You make an opinion.
Something interesting he told one time. As you're tracking, these things are so long, tall, and long. The arms, and when you have in the woods, when you have a trackway disappear, you were talking about they could reach up and swing around and come back around on the other side of a tree maybe and change direction, and it looks like they disappear. So if any of y'all are tracking, if it's out in the middle of the field in the dirt and it disappears, that's one thing. But if you're in the woods, look in the radius there to see if it changed directions. That helped me one time. I found 2 tracks, and then I'm looking, they disappeared, and I'm looking around. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Kain told me to look for other things, and I look at this exposed rock over there, and I'm like, okay, if it stepped on from here to that rock, by the distance, the next track should be somewhere in this area. I went over there, and there it was. So, I appreciate you sharing information with us, because it helps all of us.
You have to
very much.
It does. Very, very informative.
I tell people, you find a print, all right, and you honestly believe this is a legitimate Bigfoot print. You're as close to a legend that you've ever that you'll probably ever be at. And are you just going to take a picture of it and walk on, or are you going to? I mean, this should be, if it's truly what it is, that is so rare and such, like, you have to respect that. When I get on a trackway and they disappear, I plant my butt right on the ground and I sit there, and I don't care how long it takes. And I look and then I figure it out. It might be, I might look up and see a branch that has some of the bark off of it. Like, did it swing and then go? And I will also tell you this: the one encounter where I was telling you that they're doing the film about, I had an encounter with a sighting. And I'm telling you, what I saw was at the top of a ridge, and it was doing a spider crawl. When it first came out, it was on its fingers and its toes coming out, and it was not facing me. And then it just turned, like, knew I was there, turned around, and it went in one jump from the top of a ridge all the way. This is a long ridge. From the top, jumped like Superman, and went down and landed in this bush, like 30, 50 feet in front of me. And one leap, I saw it. One leap all the way down this ridge. And so they have, now that was going downhill, but still they have some absolutely unbelievable attributes to what they can do and how fast they can move. You have this vision in your mind of old Patty lumbering, old granny out there. That is not any kind of experience I've ever had. The experiences that I have seen are things that move so fast it's terrifying. Like you see something move as fast as what I saw, you know there's no absolute way you're going to outrun this thing. You are, if it wants you dead, you are dead. Period.
Some of the people I've talked to that were shook more than others were the ones that witnessed the takeoff, the spin and the launch, and those people are like, it's impossible for something that big to move that quick.
The truckers have reported these things keeping up with their trucks. I mean, it's,
and not only the speed, but also the gait of it, where they say they're almost gliding.
Oh my God!
Across, you know, almost a Twilight movie.
Yeah, their heads do this. Their heads are smooth. It looks like a shadow going across the wall.
Yeah,
or a spider that's so graceful and so fast. The one that I seen two running side by side. I estimated like 45 miles an hour on the side of a ridge. Just the unbelievable speed.
Were their back straight, or did it have body lean like a running back?
These were pretty. They were really close together too. And what happened was I was training myself at the time. If you hear a tree knock, it's a distraction. Look the other way. And I came over this ridge and I heard a tree knock to my left, and I immediately turned to the right and I see him cross, in between two trees into the foliage, and they were really close together. I mean, their heads, were like this, probably that size. I put Eric was there. I put him in the same position. I wanted him to run across so I could film it. And one, he couldn't run, and two, I couldn't see him. So he had to take his hat and put it up on a stick. I can see you now.
He's not a small guy either, is he?
Yeah, no, Eric's a big guy.
Yeah.
And just the grace and absolutely quiet. I didn't hear a thing until they hit the heavy foliage, and then in the heavy foliage, it sounded like an elephant going through there. So,
me.
Just the experience. Did we get your own
photos, guys?
We've got some here. I don't know what they are. I can bring it up and let him. There's a couple.
Okay. When I was telling you about the FLIR images, that was the first one that I took, and it was white as hot. So this is actually in the series. You can see, something hot. You can see its head. You can see its shoulders, and it's standing out in the woods when I took that thermal. That was the very first picture I got of it. So I was trying to show you that it's not just one. There was this is one here.
I'm sorry, I hit the button.
But yeah, that was one of the series of the FLIR images. All the same one, just with different filters. But that was the very first picture I got.
It's crazy how a white blob can look so tall. Like it looks tall.
Standing out there. I mean, in the darkness of the woods, that thing is, for me, it's glowing out there.
It is glowing, yeah.
Yeah, this giant presence. I'm like, holy cow. If you go to that next picture, this is my experiment. So you can see me, daylight. You can see now my cabin, the picture of my cabin where you can see the cabin itself. I'm using the solar lights up against my cabin. Of course, the lights are on at the time, but the bottom picture, bottom right, that was my no light experiment. And you can see what you don't really see in this picture, but it's blocking out the door of my cabin. You can almost see to the right of it. You can see the post from my deck right there. And you look, and this thing is blocking out the door of my cabin as it walks by. And it's just, this is more like one of the silhouettes I was trying to get.
Yeah.
That's so to me, it's like, okay, all I wanted was something to cross my yard and get a silhouette of it. And it's actually, you can tell, like when you zoom out of the picture, I have some of those, it's completely blocking out the doorway of my cabin. I estimate it, about 8 feet tall. And something about this is when this happens, I get a lot of disturbance in my camera. That's why I don't have an answer why it looks fuzzy, except that's whatever. After I filmed all this, my camera, the batteries were all leaking. I thought it zapped my camera, but whatever it was, my camera was not working. After I took the batteries out, they were all like, they're brand new batteries, all leaking. I don't know what caused that or the disturbance of it. And I was going to show you my camera, but I don't have it in here. But I mean, that's just experimenting. It's now those pictures, each time I would do this experiment, it would be 10,000 pictures it would take, and I would have to go through and I did this all summer, so I had like 30,000 pictures I had to go through. And I had, like, out of the whole series, like 4 or 5 frames. And it was actually months later when I actually I got tired of looking, actually went back, time where not a lot was going on. So I go back to my old research and try to catch up. And that's when I'm like, holy crap, I did catch something.
So Amanda, have y'all been like tagging any questions or anything?
Yeah, actually, I got a couple of questions that I've got saved backstage here. Let me pull them up real quick.
Kain, we won't go 5 or 6 hours like normal. So.
You guys keep up till 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I have to bring you Snickers when you come on Squatchin' Holler, right?
Right. Bring a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
Let's see. So our good friend Varix here has a couple of good questions. This is a 2-parter. It says, Kain, do you ever feel like some of the things you do, like scenting, braiding, and other Kain things, might be interpreted by them as a challenge to their dominance, or possibly taken the wrong way? Or do you feel that your relationship with them has progressed beyond that point now?
I can't say that it was. Honestly, I think at first it was an annoyance. Like, I firmly believe that, especially now, when you notice them, no one lived on this property for 20 years. All of a sudden, you got this guy who's not only like, seems like he's following you around, and every time you're leaving something, he's in there. Like, who is this guy? When you notice them, they notice you, and I do think probably a huge annoyance, because the first year when the activity here was rough, and I think that was like a learning, like, we're going to put this guy through the paces, see what he's all about, see if he's going to come out with a gun, and it has progressed over the years to where it doesn't, I mean, you have those scary moments, but for the most part, I'll bring up this. The summer I saw one of their things that up in the woods, and I put my braid right beside it, and there's real soft dirt right there. I do have some trails that are I manicure so you can walk on them barefoot, and real powdery trails. So I put my footprint right there so you can clearly see it. And about a week later, I went back and checked something with a 15-inch footprint stepped in my foot. And now,
oh, wow.
To me, that was very symbolic, because I do that. Sometimes when I see one of their impressions, and especially if I'm out there walking barefoot, I love to stick my foot in its impression, and just, it's like, to me, it's like a connection. Like, you just know more. You feel the weight in the ground. You feel this connection with this thing. And it's real. And it just felt like it was seeing that, and just was doing the same thing, like, just putting its foot in my, obviously it covered it up, but it was started at the heel, and then, put its foot in my heel and just covered my entire print. But I thought that was the same kind of curiosity maybe that I had towards it. So I think it's progressing now, but
That's
at
really
first,
cool.
yeah, it's hard to say. I do think I was a great annoyance at first.
And so another question is, have you ever documented any glyphs alongside some of the structures?
Yes, if you go, this is a couple years ago. There was a particular stump up on the ridge where I had a whole summer. And here's how it started. I noticed like a glyph. So I would build a little structure beside it, and every time it'd knock it over. My stuff would be destroyed. So eventually what I did was I mimicked that glyph, exact stick size, diameter, everything, and built one beside it.
Mm-hmm.
Lo and behold, I come back, there's a different glyph. And through the course of the summer, and I have all this on my House of Enoch. I have pictures of like the stump, and all the way around the stumps are these glyphs. And for every one, they're all pairs now. Every pair was one it made that I made just like it. And then it kind of got to a point to where everything stopped. I'm like, well, what happened? Well, it took me, sometimes it takes me a long time, but what had happened was it was directing me to a new part of the woods. And it took me several months to figure that out. And when I went on my gut instinct, it's like, okay, this is how I'm seeing this. I need to go to this portion. And there it was. Now I'm behind. So it's almost like they'll work with you. They'll do, but if you can't keep up, they're done with you, maybe next year. So you'll get all this stuff and then it just quit. And then it's on you. Like you either figure it out or you don't. And that's kind of like over the years, there's things, I've shared with, I know Spencer and some people, some stuff that's on a property that like trying to figure out certain, you might want to call it a glyph, but it'll be a thing, and it'll be like I find it the first time, and then it'll be the exact same thing somewhere else. And I'm trying to figure, okay, what does this mean? And by the time, like this last time, by the time I figured out at least what I interpreted as meaning, it was already way past. So now I'll kind of have to wait, next year if something happens again, if I could pick back up on it, then I believe it's almost like the lessons will continue. As crazy as that sounds, that's just how it's worked for me. I had first emulate exactly what it did. If I deviated at all, it would destroy it. If it was satisfied with what I would do, it would make a new one. And now I don't know what all these mean, but obviously there's communication going back and forth. And then, like I said, then I was at a place where I felt stuck. And lo and behold, it was, I just hasn't basically passed the next lesson. Like, yeah, we're waiting for you over here, and you never showed up. So then I finally show up, and then, and this has happened where I've restarted this again in a different area. And now I'm kind of, every year or whatever, I get stuck. And then I'm kind of, like, screw you, catch up if you don't, whatever. And that's stuff that I don't really share all that stuff publicly, because one, people are going to think you're absolutely insane.
Right.
But I have the documentation. I have, even like I tell people all the time that I have the documentation to prove now already that stick structures are real. And what real research looks like is you have structures, you have all the GPS signs, you have everything that you need. And I have pages of stuff like this. So that's awesome. I can take this to an academic and say, well, here's what I've documented over the last 10 years. Here's like, and if you look at I know I didn't show you everything kind of on purpose, but you look at the data. And you look
at just awesome that, like you said, you have that data there. You have that, like, So I was like, no, here it is. I got all this information.
And that's like with
take it or leave it.
The structure stuff. I've never said that a Sasquatch does this, but something is doing this, and it's not natural. So whatever's doing this, I've already proven this. I can prove it's not natural. There's no way. And you can't, a lot of these things you can follow, and there's repeating patterns, and that doesn't happen in nature. If you're just crazy, you're not going to find, it's not going to lead you anywhere. But as you go, and this is what I felt that I have been taught. And my first breakthrough out here was that all this stuff was going around the stump. I got so lost out in the woods, which is easy to do, but I was getting very worried, and I wasn't sure where I was at, and I came over the ridge, and I came at a different angle that I've never gone before, and I actually was on my property. I was just really lost, but I saw that structure sitting down there at the different perspective, and it was a light bulb. I'm like, holy cow. That change of perspective immediately, like, man, I need to go over here. And immediately I went there, and there was a whole new thing waiting, that obviously it was several months old at that point. That's kind of your own rabbit hole. I mean, that's what I do. This is what I feel like. I do feel like I am onto this, and that I am slowly kind of being taught in their way, or however you want to call it. But if it didn't produce anything, I wouldn't be doing it. And this is stuff I'm slowly documenting, and hopefully at a certain point I'll have enough to be like, all right, everybody, let's. And the reason I don't show this all the time, because once it's out there, it could easily be hoaxed. And even kind of like with the calls, the calls were awesome at one point. So many people across the United States are doing that. I believe that that's changing their habits. Everybody out in the woods doing calls is actually hurting real research. Like, I know it works, I know it's fun and everything, but they are learning to not respond. They're learning just as much as we are, and it's changing their natural instincts. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, I don't want some guy out there building all this stuff out in the woods, trying to hoax people or whatever, because your research is done, and it's too important. So it's very near and dear to my heart. I'm OCD about the notes that I take, and I see it, and I share a lot of it with Eric too. He's, if I get hit by a car, Eric knows enough. He can, he can pick up what I'm doing. And Eric does his own thing. We research together. Partially, we found each other and research, because nobody else really was as hardcore as we wanted to be. We were going out 46 weekends a year. We were, like I said, we hiked over 3,000 miles. We, in the day, we were very hardcore. We still take it serious, but he has his opinions. I have my opinions. He has things that he's working on. I have things that I'm working on, and we bounce things off each other. And sometimes, I've thrown him stuff, and he's like, yeah, got to do better than that. Then I get mad, and I'm like, okay, I'll prove it to you. That inspires you, no, try harder, dude. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes you need someone to reel you in. And sometimes, now, same token, there's stuff that he scoffed at for years, and until he found it on his own and came back and was like, holy cow, dude. When he's seen it and I wasn't, on his own, and holy cow. I'm like, yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you, So it's an evolving relationship, and we bounce off. I learn from him. He learns what I do, and we both do stuff a little bit different. So,
that's what it takes is somebody to keep you grounded, or fire you up to prove it to them also.
Mm-hmm.
And y'all, the people that have heard Kain for the first time, which I'm sure there's going to be a bunch, on Spotify and all that, do this. Go to House of Enoch on Facebook. Check him out. Go through all of that. Plus, you can go to Woodwalkers with a Z. Just put his name in YouTube and Woodwalkers. There's several shows. Sawdust Beast, Squatchin Holler, the original Squatchin Holler. There's a couple there where the conversations. This is the tip of the iceberg. He's giving y'all, what he's about and how meticulous he is and all that, which is one reason that I admire him, that he can do that. I'm not like that. And go check these little shows out, check his page out, and dig in. If you're interested in this, I didn't know who Kain was. He came on Misty. They brought him on our first Halloween special.
Blind Melon.
And I didn't know. Y'all, that's a crazy story. I talked to that guy today, actually, Kain, and told him you were going to be on. He may be in the audience. But
hey, buddy.
But he was telling a lot of these stories, and one of them, I'm like, wait a minute, you were the one with the LiDAR. And because we saw that, my son loaded that on his phone, and when we found tracks at Greg's, he had LiDAR right there, and you can turn it 360 and all around and upside down. And so y'all go check Kain out. We could talk for hours, and we've done it before. And
House of Enoch has I think over 600 videos on it now.
That's awesome.
I remember when you hit 500, that was a big celebration. Wow, you get 100 more.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, where did the name House of Enoch come from?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my question too.
I'm a big I'm a voracious reader on top of other things, but it's all about the Book of Enoch and the Apocrypha books, and the hidden knowledge, the forbidden knowledge, you have the Bible, then you have these books, and then Enoch's, the Book of Enoch's completely different. It's talking about giants.
It is.
And
it really is.
It's like that house of that forbidden knowledge, and that's kind of what it's about. Just like and some, not everything I do is about Bigfoot. On my page, I expanded to mushrooms. I expanded to a lot of stuff I really like to deep dive into is Indian mounds and ancient cultures and stuff like that. So I'm just real, because in one way or another, it all kind of comes back to the same subject. The more you know,
it all comes back around.
Nothing new under the sun.
Frequency. I'm all about very kind of new agey ideas, which I mean are absolutely there's weight to what they're discovering now with frequency, and how the ancients knew this. They built their temples to look like certain frequencies. 432, you look at it in a spectrograph, and it's you can do a aerial view of an Indian temple. Yeah,
there's a reason that there's bells there. There's a reason it goes so deep.
Yeah.
We might have to talk later, Kain, because now you're talking.
Same, yeah. You have to come back and
we're you said about the
part two and start digging into this stuff, because that's like I said. Now you're talking my
If y'all go back and watch some original Squatchin Holler, you will hear some of this, because we had a 3 almost 4 hour conversation one night and didn't talk about Bigfoot.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Mud floods, giant Indian mounds. Yeah. So if y'all are interested in that, go ahead.
Sorry, Roger, cutting you off. So somebody in the comments here is asking, are you thinking about making a book?
Maybe at some point, yes. Actually, 100%. But a couple of the books, I was published when I was like in the 6th grade nationally, so I do have a knack for that. Been to journalism and did some journalism in high school and college, and I definitely have a knack for that. My first book will be, if I ever do it, I do kind of plan on it will have nothing to do about Bigfoot. It'll be, but at a certain point, I do have an idea about it, but it's not going to be. It'll be from a totally different type of perspective, and I just feel like I'm not quite there yet on that front. I'm definitely there on my other idea. Like I feel like I could write it now, and it's kind of like it kind of along the same line. Like to me, I think Sasquatch are free, the type of humanity that's 100% free. And I spent time in the Yucatan Peninsula and met these Mayans down there that are just living. It changed my life, and I feel like we kind of got born into a trap here with the culture that we have. You know, we got to work till we're 67 before we're allowed to enjoy life, and that I'm all about wild edibles and self-sustaining primitive knowledge. So I want to kind of write a book touching on that, but having the knowledge in there, like to be able to maybe put some of that to use and how to regain some kind of stability, generational wealth again, you know, because I feel like the way things are set up now, there is no, unless you're already born rich or whatever, how's the common guy start? You could do it in one generation, but the ideas I have about that and what you'd have to do and what you can do to sustain yourself. Again, it all goes back to Bigfoot. People say there's not enough food to eat for these creatures. That's horse manure. I get in fights with scholarly people sometimes, and I'm like, what are you getting your answers off of Google? For God's sakes,
right?
Most of the stuff that is on the list is not even, you can't even find it on Google. That's on the menu, and this world, the day that you were born on this planet, you inherit the right to inhabit it and cultivate it, and your food is there. There's no other living creature on this planet that doesn't have its own food source. Everything is born with the ability to have food to eat for free. I know it's a long-winded tangent, but I'm passionate about this stuff like that.
Now, when y'all rewind and hear me say this was the tip of the iceberg, this show, now he's multi-layered. It's like he continues to surprise me every time we talk, about things. And I think you were listening to something we were talking about one time about frequencies and we have all these questions or whatever. And then, he came on and it just turned it wide open. So that's why I love Kain. So we'll
have to definitely have you back, Kain. This has been wonderful.
I appreciate everybody.
Like it feels like we're just starting to dip our toes into your knowledge, and I want to pick your brain a whole lot more for sure.
For sure.
Well, we're in a good company. Everybody in the audience, thank you guys for having me. I try to be humble. I try to just be a good person, be humble about everything, and I love talking to people about these subjects.
Are we going to see you? We're going to see you Halloween, maybe.
Possibly. We'll see.
Yeah. When you write your book, I want a Braille copy. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
That's the inside joke, y'all. We'll talk about.
It's up in here. It's up in here right now. So yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you, Ashley, Amanda, and Kain, and everybody in chat. We've had good numbers tonight. Of course, when you have a great guest, it's easy. It's a holler thing, y'all.
It is. It's a holler thing.
All right. We will see y'all later. Sorry, I didn't put as much chat up tonight, but we had a lot to cover. Y'all know.
Talk too much.
Don't hit. Oh, you're good. No. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Next week, I believe it's Scott and Sheila Granger.
Yes,
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes,
Georgia.
I'm excited to have them on the show.
Yeah, that's in your neck of the woods. So
and they are. Yeah.
Everybody, go Google Kain Michael and or search on YouTube, and you'll have plenty of things to dig into, and then next time you'll be more prepared with your questions. So, all right, y'all have a good night.
Oh,
Good night, y'all.
wait,
What?
guys, wait. Hillary is really, before we leave this thing, where are you at the Mothman Festival? Sorry, my font on my computer is super small. Amanda, can you see Hillary's question about the Mothman Festival?
Don't answer that. Hillary stalks Kain. What y'all?
I wasn't. I was planning on going. I was not there this year. I was there last year and plan to be there again. Oh, I got big news for everybody. I'm sorry.
Oh no, please, yes. What you got?
Lay it out there, brother.
I'm involved. There's a town near me that's Nelsonville, Ohio. Richard with OCR, Ohio Cryptid Researchers. I finally remember the name. He approached Nelsonville, and they're having their first Bigfoot festival.
Oh,
and
nice!
It's going to be a big deal. It's a great town for this to be in. I'm going to be one of the speakers. I'm also on the council, so so for years after this, I will have a say, as well as Richard and a lot of other people that will have a say on who the speakers are. And first, like this year for sure, we're making it all about the community and the people that live in a community that you never hear from. You know, they're not popular enough or whatever. And beers and boogers. But it's going to be a big deal. You'll start seeing stuff like that. Eric's going to be one of the speakers. Richard, Linda Sigmund, one of the last surviving members of the actual Mothman. She's a good friend of ours. She's going to be speaking. Great lineup of real, true researchers, and it's big news. So
that's awesome. And is that going to be this year or
it'll
next
be next
year?
October? Yeah, I mean it's.
Y'all got plenty of time to.
Yeah,
get it.
They had one in Logan, Ohio, and there was over 40,000 people that showed up.
Oh my gosh!
This is the next.
It's going to take time to organize and get together and everything.
Yeah, and they can do it. They have done some huge. They have some big festivals that they do down there. It's the same people planning that. They have the know-how. It's going to be a big event. So I'm really proud
to
be
posted, Kain. Send us updates. Send us any promotional material. We'll get it out there.
Yeah, we might have to make a road trip.
Well,
you read my mind, Roger. We need to.
Well, I think we're going to have a researchers row where people come in, do live podcasts. It's going to be a big deal. So we might just take it up on that offer.
Thanks for sharing with us. I feel, anyway, I thought y'all, the inside joke with Hillary, we're like a brother sister, and so we pick on each other a lot. But she calls Kain, what did she call him? The silver fox? I don't know what that.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Yeah, like the other night, silver fox alert. I'm embarrassing Kain. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all later. I'm gonna hit in this time. Y'all be quiet.
Yeah. Southern goodbyes, y'all.
Yes,
Southern
yes,
goodbyes.